Hello and welcome to the Straight Shot Post podcast. I'm your host, Frank Arroyo, CEO of Straight Shot Post. And with me is my amazing executive assistant and co-host, Grace Santos. How you doing today, Grace?
I'm good. I'm cold, but
Yeah,
I'm feeling like a holiday already. It's a little too soon, but yeah, I'm doing all right.
good.
Yeah.
Um, so for those of you who are new, this is a weekly podcast, sort of a company journal where we go over what our week was like as we're trying to build a media empire. And it has certainly been pretty spicy these last couple of weeks. Quickest recap I can give is we had an incredible summer. We were on track to break $1 million in revenue, and then all of a sudden it came crashing down as the recession started to really hit, and we have now lost half of that revenue. Been crazy. I think the second episode of this podcast, Grace and I got drunk and wallowed in our sorrows.
Yeah. A lot hit
And
that week.
it was a lot. And then sort of came back, had to restructure, figure out how to keep the margins in a good place. And unfortunately, we had 2 resignations during that time. But on the positive side, I'm feeling really good about October. Like a whole bunch of stuff started to pick up. We're working with some of our favorite clients, working with a good old Gallery Media Group, one of Gary Vaynerchuk's companies. They own PureRaw.com. For those of you who are fans of the Vayner world, old friends. It's where the company actually started, was in one of their offices. And I'm really excited to be working with them again. We're working on two really cool Canon spots where there's a lot of things going on there, but it'll be pretty heavy on the CG side, adding in some atmosphere, adding in some cool atmospherics and lighting, and overall a good time with our close collaborators over at Pixel. And yeah, just happy to be busy because it was pretty rough for a little while. So yeah,
You
how are you
say
feeling
pretty
about this
rough,
one?
but I feel like it wasn't rough, but it was rough, but it wasn't like we were doing nothing. I feel like we've constantly been on a grind, whether it be doing a bunch of HR things like our quarterlies with everyone. That was like a whole week that ate up a whole week. I wouldn't say ate up. It was very fruitful. And then, going over finances was like a week and figuring out Snapchat. You were deep, like the summer was Snapchat.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to be clear, definitely not rough for you because
Yeah.
you're just working. Rough for me as in I'm up at night wondering, how I'm gonna pay the bills and stuff. That's more what I meant. There was always something to do. There is never a shortage of something to do. And honestly, I'll say one of my favorite anecdotes here that I'm sure you've heard 1,000 times, which is that there's a common misconception between time and work.
Mm.
People say that time is infinite and work is finite, but actually it's the other way around. There's only so much you can do in any given day, and there's always more to do. To be clear, when I say that it was a bit rough, I just mean more emotionally than anything else.
Right. That
You know
for
what I mean?
sure.
Um,
Yeah,
and I've gone
that
through
was.
it. We've been through the pandemic. I don't think you were here for that. I remember you helped me rebuild. Just don't know how long you were here, but we've had our fair share of adversity, but this one was a business one. Like, yes,
Mhm.
the hurricane affected my business, but it wasn't, do you know what I mean? It wasn't like, oh shit, we lost clients and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. Surprisingly, when the hurricane hit, the client side was totally fine. We figured it out. It
Yeah.
kept running.
I mean, that's why we were stressed because we still had to do all this work and,
Yeah.
and we were dealing with everything else. But yeah. And also we just didn't have that many inbound clients, kind of maybe fortunately because Snap was such a beast to iron out. But now we're starting to get calls and the fall is starting to pick up. And that gives me that little bit of that peace of mind. Like, oh, okay, it wasn't just a fluke, like we didn't just
Mhm.
get projects and really we're no imposter syndrome, maybe is what I might have been feeling.
Mm.
So feeling good about October. Also,
Yeah.
and just generally in a better mood than I was last week, and I'm hoping Grace was last week because
Me
again,
too.
for those of you who missed it, Grace. I don't know. What do you want to call it? What do you want to call that?
I mean, I was having a bad day. A week. A tough week. What was that like? Well, yeah. I was
Because
having a rough
I
week.
mean more like the way that whatever yes, you were having a bad week, but I don't know, we had like a therapy session or something last week.
That
I don't
is
know what
true.
you'd
I
call it,
dropped
but yeah, you dropped a bomb.
I
Yeah.
dropped a bomb in the middle of the podcast, which I didn't expect to be a bomb. I was just casually stating, "Oh yeah, I just cried. Like, let's move on with the podcast." But then I guess that isn't something that you just say.
I think for a second you forgot that I was also your boss and the person responsible for hopefully creating a healthy work environment for you. And I had a moment terrified that I had done something to put you in that position.
Mm-mm.
Which again, to wrap it up, fam, I did not. That is how Grace expresses herself, and it's actually incredibly healthy and incredibly efficient way of relieving stress, I guess, and negative emotions. Did I sum that up right?
Yeah, perfect. Oh, good. So,
Nice.
yeah, compared to that, I am very happy. Last episode, we were like, oh, let's see what happens next therapy session. And this therapy session, I was totally fine. I didn't know what to talk about. We were just
Hold
there,
up.
like,
For context,
hanging
she
out.
means like real her actual therapy session, not like this show.
Oh, not the show.
Yeah,
No, no,
like she
no.
actually needs therapy. She gets therapy, and that's what she was talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. And I met my therapist, and we are like, well, I've had a great few weeks. Like, I'm doing fine. Yeah. So, riding that wave.
Good. I mean, did she give you any helpful tips of how to manage things or what to do when you
No,
feel like that in the future?
what to do when I feel like see, the thing that I felt last week, I didn't even really talk about it because it's so insignificant. Like it was
Interesting.
literally just I the night before I had like an emotional talk and I was feeling emotional. And then I was like, let me cry a little bit. It was literally nothing. I'm
Yeah.
fine.
All right, well,
Yeah.
good. Still launches into, I think, quite an interesting episode, and hopefully, you guys found some value about, how to lead and how to work with different kinds of people. And I think it's sort of, I hope it's like every entrepreneur's nightmare that somebody's, well, again, the fear that these people might hate working at your company. I know that is definitely a driving
Mm,
force for me. I know that's not what happened here, but I know that that's the first thing I thought that went through my head is I'm failing. Um,
damn.
so yeah, I know it's
So,
okay. It's not real. That's the whole
no,
thing,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
But
The
but
less
but it's
but
where my head goes, of course, right? So I'm glad both of us are in I think pretty good spirits. Had a
yeah.
pretty I don't know if productive is the right word, but like I felt like a little bit more focused this week. There are things that obviously I still haven't gotten to that I want to, but when you're busy with projects, it always feels like that work is worth it. So yeah.
Yeah.
What was your week like?
I mean, I had a few as in 2 out of offices this week, and it was cool because I checked in and it looked like you were busy. Not with what I had planned for you, but nonetheless busy with what needed to happen. So that was cool. On Wednesday I was doing this documentary where I was interviewed about skin picking. This girl, she's interviewing a bunch of people because she has a habit of picking her nails and was curious how other people deal with skin picking and that it's kind of a thing that no one really talks about. And I was really interested because I was like, that is something that I do often. Like pick my cuticles. Everyone has, I mean, not everyone, people who do skin pick have all different kinds of habits with it. But I was really curious about talking about it and learning about other people's skin picking patterns because I'm very insecure about mine. A lot of people like to say that I have nice hands, and then I get really insecure. I'm like, they haven't really seen my hands up close. Like, they don't know. It's really a nightmare. But yeah, other people pick, your hair, you can pick any part of your body. And it's like, for me, a stress response and it's very self
Hmm.
soothing. And I don't
I
even notice I'm doing it.
I think what's interesting about that topic is that it's such a, I guess, a common one in many different forms that you're probably right. I think people don't look at it in the same way as some of the more harmful variants of stuff like that, of harming yourself or whatever realm you'd want to put it in.
Yeah.
Although it is somewhat similar, right? Still, so there's probably a lot to learn from it. But yeah, I don't know much about it. I think I used to be a nail person, a nail biter.
Really?
Yeah.
You have such
Um,
like clean nails now. What?
I
How
mean,
did you just stop?
I gotta find out. I play with my hair a lot. If there
Oh
was a
yeah, yeah.
habit that I do, yeah, that's what I do. So that's why if you see me wearing a hat, it's because I'm trying desperately. And that's why I try to keep my hair relatively short
Oh,
because it's like I know when I'm playing with it, it's too long. And so that's probably the one physical habit that I'd say that I have
that's a good note
that's
for me.
persisted.
So if I ever see you doing this, it's
I'm
time
thinking.
to hit up Salvador.
Sal? Yeah, that's one thing. And what it means is usually I'm like thinking deeply. So the thing is when I'm playing certain video games that are like strategy games, I catch myself like doing it a lot. Like I'm almost pulling my hair out. I'm just like so deeply intertwined trying to figure out what to do. That's usually when it's happening.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I've seen it.
So let's dig into the week then, huh?
Well, yeah.
All right.
I
So
mean, let's start with the company brunch that we had. We finally got to meet everyone in person.
yeah.
How was that for you?
Oh, so there's not too much context to give here. The company's fully remote. There's about 8 to 10 of us. And we were talking with our business coaches earlier in the summer about how do we build company culture remotely. And they recommended doing not having an office, but doing more events and, sort of funneling the money that we'd save from an office into those events. And I really responded well to that and thought, okay, I think this might be the sort of a good happy medium. So we've decided that we're going to try to host quarterly get-togethers in person, and ideally in the future I'd be able to cover like travel costs for people that are like coming from far. We were able to give like a small stipend to the people coming from out of state this time around, and hopefully that can become more of a common thing. And then one big yearly, like company anniversary, like do seminars and training and bonding type of thing. That would be like a sort of big thing. And yeah, we're going to try some version of that with the Christmas party this year, the holiday party, since we didn't really do anything else, where we are going to hopefully maybe fly out one of our team members who's out in Mississippi. So I'm looking forward to figuring that out. And this was kind of our first try at it. And I had a good time. I mean, in general, I would say that the most important thing for me was seeing how our sort of quote unquote culture would translate in person, because we're pretty rough around the edges. We're very blunt with each other and very sort of quick. And we move like quick at work and we hop into calls real quick. We don't give too much context. We just jump into stuff and get going. And I just wasn't sure. That's not really, it's like great for business, but like I wasn't sure if people were going to be like chill around each other or actually feel weird around seeing me in person. That has happened before, especially the people who have never met me. Like I'm their boss. I'm on this call with them. I'm always yelling at them, telling them what to do or whatever. And now I'm like kicking back mimosas and crushing French toast, which by the way destroyed my diet completely. I'm in the middle of cutting and I'm like,
The
feel like I
French
was
toast,
set back.
the truffle fries, and the
Yeah.
salt and pepper ribs, all of that.
But I'm just saying, people, do you hear what she said? Like, what was I supposed to do? And I'm
You
paying
gotta
for
crush
it
the
all too.
diet.
I'm the one that has to
Yeah.
put the credit card down. And oh, you know what else is crazy?
Yeah.
Everybody, but for somehow, because you don't know how tall anybody is. Literally, this company is filled with like 5'2" Asian women and one white girl, which is hilarious. And y'all are dainty and eating your little bit of this and a little bit of that. And I felt like I had to put down the lion's share for the team, to get our money's worth.
By the way, I did take home the ribs and it lasted me like till today. So it's been great. Yeah. I don't know why no one, I mean, I felt weird being the only one.
I'm glad. No, I saw a couple. Brittany, I think,
Brittany,
busted out her take home too.
Me and Brittany. Yeah, we took it home.
You should have hooked me up. I was knee deep in, I guess, another funny, maybe anecdote or highlight from the brunch is that our producer brought a good friend of hers. And so to talk about this whole company culture, inside versus out kind of a thing, she asked me, why I started the company and started having those kind of, the normal questions that I kind of get. But I had obviously been trying to get the most out of our, bottomless hour and a half brunch. Maybe it was a little loose. And, as I'm talking about our ideology and stuff, I could see that she was just, uncomfortable is like the completely wrong word. She was just like very sweet and very nice and very unsure about a lot of the things that I was saying, because it sounds strange on the outside, right?
Like what though?
I was telling her that I found out recently by watching a couple of podcasts and stuff, like what the success formula was. So, and I didn't pick this, guys. If you're listening, I'm going to tell you the formula for success. Okay. I didn't make this shit up. It's on Alex's podcast. It's on Tom Belay's podcast. This is just the data.
Alex Ramosi.
Yes, Alex Hormozy. And basically, I said to her, here's the crazy thing about success. You could be super attractive and be wealthy. You could be super ugly and be wealthy. You could be any race and be wealthy. You can be very healthy or very unhealthy and be wealthy. Like everybody has found success, right? Like in that regard. Those things aren't really indicators. And by the way, we're not talking about happiness. This isn't the happiness formula. This is the, I guess, wealthy, successful as in did a big thing like win the Olympics or make a ton of money or build a successful company or whatever, that kind of formula. I don't want people in the comments talking about every definition for success is whatever. I get that. Talking about in the traditional, I guess, American sense, what is the correlations and what are the patterns that we can see amongst people who achieve something quote unquote big. They said there are three things. The first thing, and it's not any of those 30-day hack guru, make your bed at 5 a.m. type stuff. The first thing is having a superiority complex in some manner. You know, you have to think that you're better than people at whatever, and that you know better and that you can do something about it. By the way, everything we're going to talk about drives to action, because action, what you do is the only thing that matters. And so I can see that, right? Because we're going to talk about characters, storytellers here. You have to know what the character wants. Well, if they think they're better and they think they can solve a problem, then that's their goal, right? And it's funny because when we talk about why I started this company, I always complained about how the agencies were run and how they sucked and were completely inefficient. And I would be making $1,000 a day while only doing 3 or 4 hours of actual work because of their inefficiencies, which, yes, I know it sounds like a dream, but it drove me bananas. And there you go. It's because I thought I could do it better, right? So I started a company to attempt to put that to the test. The second thing, and this is definitely an area that I think I'm lacking in, is crippling insecurity. Now we're talking about the fear, which is stronger and more important, arguably, than what you want. That's science, right? We're driven way more by our fears than our desires. So this is the thing. This is the thing that you'd want to tap into. But of course, when I said that to her, I literally was like, yeah, I'm trying to like build some more insecurity in my life so I can push this company forward. She was like, oh my God, don't do that. You know, like, I don't think that's healthy or whatever. And I was like, girl,
How
like
they make it up.
I was like, I'm obviously not willingly trying to put myself in like a bad mental place. I think it can be controlled and used to my advantage. And like, why does everything have to be like negative? Yeah, I get it. For most people who have insecurities, I have my own that are personal, but it's like you just manage it and you can use, and if it helps you do the things that you want, like it's there no matter what. They might as well fucking be helpful.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's kind of how I looked at it. But I realized that I can't even get in like to explain it even in that manner, that it's not even worth explaining to other people. I'm like, but this is where the conversations always fall flat when I'm like, yeah, we talk to each other about our flaws all the time at the company and we're highly critical and we move very fast and whatever. Sometimes you get people that are like, I don't know if that sounds good. And then I'm like, do you not see everybody smiling, having a good time at this table? If they didn't like it, I don't think they'd be here. And I hope that I know them well enough to know they'd say some shit about it, because they always say shit about me. They make fun of me all the time. I'm hoping they would tell me if something real serious was happening too, right? So I think that it's always like interesting to get what an outsider sort of thinks. But to go back to the heart of it, this crippling insecurity thing, it is like a real thing, right? And so I got a chip on my shoulder. Adversity breeds success. You know, I say that all the time. And so I've tried to create artificial adversity, and shocker, it works, by the way. When I gave up, which by the way was terrifying to do, but when I gave up all of my freelance jobs to start the company, I went from $700 a day to nothing again because they all wanted me to come into an office to work. And I said, no, it's a company now. And I had to start from scratch. There is literally no clients, not a single one from that era that we have at this company.
Oh, wow.
Yep. But I kind of believed in the data, which said like, hey, dude, like people tend to find a way. And if you want to do more, which was mainly what I was trying to figure out, then maybe try, as they say, try swimming to shore and lighting all the ships on fire behind you. So you don't really have a choice. And the pandemic had hit, like it all swirled together. I gave that up. I worked for 1 year on the company. The pandemic hit, it happened again. And now we're doing better than we were ever before the pandemic when I was in a cushy office. So I do believe strongly in it, not only from my own personal experience, but because there is data to support that it's sort of a pattern amongst people who tend to achieve it. And it makes sense because we run away from what we're afraid of. So you're like, my dad was I need to prove him wrong. I'm afraid that I fail and that he wins. You will move your that fear drives you. So to me, it's not bad. It's just learning how to use everything, all the tools you have at your disposal. And then the last thing, which is the one that I think most people actually struggle with, and they said this on the podcast, which is great, is that it's not a matter of having these things, but it is definitely a matter of how much you have. So keep that in mind.
Oh.
But the last thing, which I think a lot of people struggle with, is impulse control. Can you focus and do one thing? And so when you combine it, superiority complex, crippling insecurity, and impulse control, you get a massive driver for action in a single focused area that allows you to actually get good, build the skills that you need, and it makes sense.
And for people like me who don't inherently have that, I don't know, that I don't have those three things in me, but I feel like the secret is to latch to someone who does and help with whatever needs help with. And in my case, I'm helping with the third thing. I feel like I'm just keeping the focus on one thing with every day. So, yeah.
Yeah,
There's
see,
different
that's
ways.
and again, it depends on your goals. So we're not big. I hate telling people what to do. I'm very anti that. Like you
Yeah.
do you, fly your freak flag, be happy, and don't hurt anybody else, and we're good, bro. We're good. I don't give a shit. You just let me do me. I let you do you. Nobody's hurting nobody. I do think people are generally good, okay, despite the internet. So that's my outlook. I believe in people. And I believe that there's a lot of pressure to be certain things. That's just like, right, what you're fed. But at the end of the day, I just am casting myself in this role. I also tried explaining this to her. Like, she was like, why'd you start this company? I'm like, because I saw a bunch of people in an arena who were trying so much harder than me. And I also at the same time learned that I have traits that would allow me to be extremely have achieve a lot of these things all these people wanted to achieve, but weren't, like, for whatever reason, right? And I felt like I'd be giving a giant middle finger to everybody in that arena if I didn't try. I'm like, I have all the traits, like the genetic traits that they wish they had and that they're trying
Yeah.
to learn. And I'm not gonna do anything with that. Like, that's disrespectful to me. So I just like it just really reignited and focused me to be like, fine, if I think I'm this good, now it's me versus me. Can I do it? Can I help the people? Can I have the impact that I believe I can have, even if though as an introvert it wasn't a big thing and I was already content and happy? That's kind of what the tricky part is because I'm happy and didn't have adversity growing up. It makes it harder to drive action when I don't really need to. And whatever. And so I don't know how it sounds, but I'm doing this because I feel like I have like I'm responsible. I have a responsibility, and I'm happy. I'm happy, by the way. It's not like I'm miserable doing it. I am enjoying this
Hmm.
process of figuring out if I can do it. And I do believe that we really do help and serve our clients in super meaningful ways, and that we reach 5 million plus people a week with our content. And I think it's an honor to serve all the people that we do with our content, our clients, our 5 million viewers, somewhat almost weekly now with our content. So I guess the truth is the truth. I'm not hiding from it. I'm leaning into who I am now, and I feel better than ever. And it was just weird to meet somebody who is sort of on the outside of this bubble. It kind of reminded me of like, oh, that's right. I am not normal and I need to learn how to better communicate, be more empathetic, to be better articulate what we're trying to do. Because if I say it in the straight shot post, the most blunt and efficient way,
Hmm.
it ends up. Most people do add connotation, denotation. They do add emotion to it, and so all of a sudden, it doesn't really mean what I meant it to be. And so I know I have to work on that. That's a me thing. I'm not here trying to change nobody. In my company, I can dictate culture, right?
Yeah, and that's
Um,
what
yeah.
talk about the interns, how we had 2 new interns this week, and for the first time, it wasn't Dale that interviewed them. And so their project managers that they're gonna work with interviewed them, and then after so they had a perception of what the company is, these wonderfully nice project managers, and then they came into, the morning meeting, or one of our interns came straight into a review with Dale, and then
Yeah.
probably like a culture shock? Culture shock, you can call it that. Yeah,
Totally.
yeah.
100%. Yeah. And I was calling on her. And I was like,
Yeah,
she never met me in her
immediately.
life. I'm like, Carly, what's your opinion on this piece? Were you in
I
the
don't know
review?
what I
Were
would
you in the
do.
review yesterday? She was in a review yesterday, 2 days ago, and I
Yeah,
literally sat in silence. You were there. I made you. I sat in
I was.
silence. I sat in silence and I waited to get responses.
Yeah.
And I get it. You guys just want to be safe. You want to be told what to do and just do it right. And it's just not how I roll. Like, your opinions matter because you're in more closer to the audience of those pieces than I am. And I must make sure that I'm getting as much information possible. And guess what? Carly opened her mouth and she was right. And she did affect the piece. And we made a change that was better. And that's
Yeah.
kind of what I mean. I'm trying to really, I know it looks funny and it's just probably just aggressive and maybe shocking for some people, but like, it works. Not what I mean by it works is as in it creates better products. And I mean, I don't know if people get the wrong impression. I'm not like forcing people to
No.
yeah, it's like I'm just encouraging people to speak up, even though I'm in the room and even though I have a certain opinion. I need to hear the other side, if there even is one. Do we all agree? And I hate when there's dead silence. I either want a clear confirmation, like put your heart into it and think about it, or let's keep finding a right solution.
Mhm.
I think personally, that's the recipe for success. I'm not special. I have a lot of expertise, but it means nothing without it being translated like to the rest of the world, right? So my opinion is not that is just as my opinion is worth a little bit more than most of the people's here, just by virtue of my expertise and experience and the fact that we're mostly talking about stories, and that's where it is. But it's at some point when the AE tells me about some new codec or a new way of transcoding, for dailies and a more efficient way to prep projects, like at a certain point, they've been doing it longer than me and have more. So why I'm like, great. That's the point. You need to become better at me than these things. I can't be the best person at everything at the company, right? Like that would never
Yeah.
be sustainable. So it was definitely funny to have her come in more because I just went right in hard on this script, and the scripts
Yeah.
they get it. Like that's where we go in the hardest, because we know if it gets fixed there, everything else is easy. So we
Hmm.
really dig in to make sure that we feel super confident, and then the rest of the process is pretty smooth sailing. And there was never a meeting with me. She never even watched the onboarding video yet. It was a big lesson that we learned, which is like how to ease somebody in.
Yeah.
Especially just for me, because if they're in a session with me, I need their opinion. And I know that most people aren't really that, they're not, well, of course, like how comfortable could they be doing that on day one,
Yeah.
So I learned that too, where I was like, damn, maybe I shouldn't do that. But I more just realized, just don't have them there yet, right? Like ease
Hmm.
them in, do the onboarding video, have them do some basic tasks, have them have their 15 with me. And then after they get to know the system a bit, bring them in so that it's not so thrusted into it, because they feel stakes. They want to be liked, they want to have a good impression. And I don't think they realize that for me, it's different. I'm not, I already am like, happy that you're here to learn,
Yeah.
And so yeah, that was definitely a big learning experience.
Yeah. And I had a learning experience of, well, this is taking it back to the brunch, but I've never worked at another company like this. Like I've never worked at another company. So I wouldn't know. I don't have comparisons, but
You've had
everyone,
other jobs though.
I've had other jobs, but it's very different. It's kind of like working at a restaurant. It's just serving people, and then the manager's like, "Good job," and that's it. Versus this is very much more dynamic with reviews and I don't know, much more interaction. And I learned that we do have a very interestingly open culture, and then it's not this normal to be able to say what you want, especially to the boss. And I didn't know that. And I maybe realized that with everyone at the company saying how they're really happy about that in person. And so that was a cool learning experience. I was like, oh, I was taking it for granted, but it's nice.
It's what's funny, Grace, is that I don't know any other way, right? Like I'm a first time entrepreneur. I freelanced my whole career. That really a lot of that stuff is just more like, it's funny because I feel like and I'm glad. It makes me so happy to hear that, of course. Like I want a place where people can be happy, be themselves, find some purpose and fulfillment. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
meaningful. It really
Yeah.
does. It feels good. But it's funny because for me, it's like twofold, right? It's the same duality that we always have. It's like I value everybody as a person and also as a chess piece. And I think if we're playing it, there's this whole theory about, are you playing not to lose, or are you playing to win?
Mm,
And I think about that a lot. And I just personally think that being honest and being fast and not being afraid to lose is how you win in the long run. And that really, aside of it being a personal thing, like I just personally prefer for people to just be dead honest with me, and it's my company and my culture that I'm building it from. I also think it's the thing that gives you speed and leads to the most kind of creative innovation, right? Because like I said, if that intern never spoke up, we would have never even thought about what she had to, how to possibly solve this problem in that piece.
yeah,
And
but it's not that not everyone thinks of that way.
yeah,
It's
of
just very,
course.
well, yeah, yeah.
Right, but what I'm saying is, like, I'm not, to me, it's not a, "Oh, I'm so cool that I do it like that."
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
it's like
like,
a,
duh,
this
this is the
makes
way
it
to
better.
win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is again another duality where it's like we need to hear the diverse thoughts, and at the same time we need to recognize how little they really mean, like your
Hmm.
opinion isn't as valued as the data. And your opinion against my opinion is, for most people here, one is going to get weighed more than the other, just based on experience and expertise. However, you still need to speak up. And that's hard for people, to speak up knowing that they're probably wrong. But how the hell
Right.
how do you learn how to speak? How do you learn how to get it right? You can't think, like, you just can't operate that way. And I'm big on that. Like, be decisive, just commit to a choice. If you're wrong, I think that's what it is. The fear is if you're wrong, something bad will happen to you, like your parents are
Right.
going to yell at you, or,
Yeah.
your classmates or something. But what you guys don't realize coming into these careers is that, like, there's really only a few things that you could be wrong about that actually mess everything up. And I would rather you mess up a thumbnail on my Instagram post than, blow up a huge thing that matters a lot. And so I'm actually very like anti micromanage with a lot, maybe too much, because I think it causes some anxiety in people when they don't know how to get it right. And I bet I could do some work on that. But overall, there are certain kinds of people that can thrive in that environment. And through the repetition of failing over and over, it starts meaning nothing. And that's where I want to get to. When nobody
Hmm.
cares about getting it wrong, about failing, about pissing somebody off, because we all know there's something more important. We're all heading towards a common goal, and you have to take risks, and you have to try, and you have to be confident in order to actually move forward. I'm going to get off my high horse now. This is obviously our own thing. I have no idea how it's done anywhere else. I just know it's working for us. The people are happy. They got along. They were chill. I thought it was a great experience overall. Meeting
It
everybody like
was.
that.
Yeah.
So yeah, and the interns, best of luck. I know they're gonna do well here. We'll find out. We'll keep you guys updated on how the young guns are doing.
Along
So
those
yeah,
lines, though, I did realize something. Well, that made me think about how we've been working on Asana. Asana's our, what do you call it, project management platform app.
that's exactly correct. It's our project
Okay.
management tool of choice.
Yeah. And we were revamping it, going over our workflow. And it's like a tedious, annoying thing to do, but it's still so useful. And with that, along with when we were doing reviews, I was doing some reviews like last week or the week before with you, and you would have me type in the review, and you're telling me how inefficient my notes were typing. And I just been thinking about, processes in my life outside of this where I got so used to doing something a certain way, and like I often miss when I'm doing the thing, but I just keep doing it that way because I don't know how else to do it. So I don't know, a dumb example could be like I always forget, like when I go in the fridge to get the yogurt, like I close the door and then I forget I have to get the berries. So I open the door again, but I'll just do that every time, like open the door twice, but it's so inefficient. And then it's literally the speed is winning, prioritizing speed over what is it?
Something,
Safety,
yeah,
speed,
it's
and
sustainability.
sustainability. Those are the three
Something that's
S's.
repeatable, basically.
Yeah, and it's the speed winning and me not wanting to slow down and just rewire my brain and then save so much time later on. So I've been doing that in my life where stop and I'm like, no, let me figure out how to get the berries and the yogurt in one and then be a little faster in life.
Listen, I dig this kind of. I know it sounds crazy in the outside. I'm
It
like,
does.
who
That's so
cares about the
true.
0.5 seconds? And then I'm like, yeah, but 0.5 seconds times 365 if you do it every morning times X years, and like you lose a day of your life or something like that. And yeah, maybe it's crazy to think like that, but personally, all we're really saying is, do you value your time? That's how I look at it. And so no, it's not like, I guess to me, I don't go crazy about it all. Although maybe me, I kind of do actually, just to be real. But like that's just
Yeah.
me. But I
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
understand how jazzed up I get when I do find the perfect order of how many things can I fit in my hand. And you know what it reminds me of? You ever help your parents do groceries, man? When you were a kid, I was
Mm-hmm.
like, how many bags can I fit in one shot? And then I'd figure out, okay, but like you can't smush the bread. So you can only do 4 bags and put the bread on the outside, but bread's light. So I could probably rock that on my pinky and I get the extra
Mm-hmm.
bag in and that leaves room. And you want to be careful with the milk gallons and the eggs. And like I have been loved. Yeah.
Maximizing.
So it's not like, by the we're not telling you guys like do this stuff. We're just like, I
Well,
find
no,
it
this is
fun
such a
anyways.
tiny example of it, but mostly it has been in my workflow where, it's useful. But it's funny how it bleeds into my normal life too.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And talk about another thing is like with that I've learned too is like just general human resistance to change. Anytime I change something at this company, there's always some groan somewhere, and I'm just like, too bad, it's better. And then a week passes,
hmm
right? And then it's not faster though, Dale. And I'm like, yes,
you
it's
haven't
not
gotten used to
faster,
it.
but yeah. I was like, it will be faster. Otherwise, I wouldn't have recommended for us to do it. And no, it's not going to be faster after a week. But sure enough, now I have somebody writing 3 scripts a week, like I said was going to happen 6 months ago, which
Yeah.
honestly I'm shocked about it.
Wild.
And I'm gonna have the editor smashing 3 cuts a week also. And like it's going to happen over time as we get better. If your eye is on the prize of efficiency and that slow growth mentality, there's just no point. Literally, I'm doing things in half the time that I was doing them 6 months ago. And when you think about that, you're talking about a 50% increase in productivity over 6 months. Like, who wouldn't do that? You
Want
just,
that? Yeah.
yeah. Like, if you had known that, that's the thing, is a lot of it is just fear of the unknown. What if it doesn't work? And like, if it doesn't work, we just go back to what was working. That's it. But how that, like, you have to try stuff. It goes, this is the same. It's, I feel like we're kind of centering this particular episode around a lot of the same ideas of just like getting past your fear or
Mm.
learning how to use your fear. So,
Hmm.
one or the other. So, and this actually reminds me that this like idea of whatever common fears and stuff is like, I had a really great script consultation this week, and first time filmmakers, of course, it is a really scary thing to make a movie, to spend all that money, to put yourself out there and see what you've got. And
Damn.
you having a moment already just thinking about it?
Yeah, I don't know if yeah, I've
Yeah,
not
well,
done that.
it,
I don't know
it,
if I
it
could.
in the
Damn.
consultation, I said, what is the point of this film? I was going through the alignment questions,
Yeah.
and he said, because I said, look, there's a very, like, if it's like Sundance or Bust, that's one thing, for example. I was
Hmm.
trying to just help him figure it out. Because a lot of people, the goal is like film festivals and accolades. But when they really dug in, that's like what it is on the outside. But when they really dug in, he was like, honestly, it's my first film. There's something I want to prove. I want a
Oh,
calling card. See, now you're saying,
you
oh,
do
okay.
often say that one, right? That's a common one.
Um, yes, but
Filmmakers sometimes.
yes, but you're trying to get them to have a goal that is much more, I guess,
Right.
not really result focused, because we can't guarantee.
Yeah.
It's not even like that. It's not like you can't guarantee getting the sun. It's the odds are astronomically low no matter who you are.
Hmm.
So it's just a really bad goal because it's so unlikely. And let's come up with something that is actually an achievable point of success for you that you'd be happy with. And then, of course, yeah, if it goes there, it goes there. I've been there, so I know. I've seen the films there. They're fine. I'm telling you right now, there's not a single film at Sundance that I saw the year I was there that I like remember to this day. Oh my god, it blew my mind. Honestly, there was a couple. There was one really cool short, but like the other shorts, I mean, very topical or fit a very specific style. It's programming. It's entertainment. That's what they're trying to do too, right?
Mm. Yeah.
So, anyways, that's a side thing. If you guys want to hear more about that, I obviously got tons of views on this stuff. Tribeca, it's South by the whole nine. But when I started hearing that about him, I said, okay, you're a first-time filmmaker, 100%. Then take this 18-page, very dialogue-heavy, very sort of, you could tell it was a personal story type of thing. And I said, you want to simplify this as much as possible, and you want to get the page length down. That's just it, because you want to be able to focus on execution. If you've never made a film before, it will be extremely overwhelming to be on set if you have a low budget. And remember that, like, your budget, it's proportional. It's like, how much money do you have to spend per page and how much money do you have to spend per minute? I'm telling you
Mm.
right now, if you feel rushed, you will not be able to give your best work because you don't have the experience to know how to rush it and make it okay and be comfortable compromising it. And if it's a personal story, it just sucks to see that get crushed because you didn't have the $70,000-$80,000 budget you needed to actually do it right. And you
Mm.
don't know, because you have no experience, how to be comfortable and figure out how to make that for 10. You know what I mean? Like, it's so much where I'm like, if it's your first film, simple, simple, simple. Simple, please, because then you can just focus on the fundamentals and you will learn something. And then it's up to him, if he thinks that he's somehow going to be amazing at it, even though he's never done it before, which for some reason, a lot of filmmakers think that. I have no idea, by the way, about, what his expectations are, but I
Hmm.
don't know why, I thought that too. When I was making my thesis film, I was like, I've made a couple of shorts. I'm ready to go big. And like, that was very silly. We're talking about how many real reps do you have? It took me 10 years to get as good as I did, and like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of videos. And not just that, and thinking about it and analyzing it and watching the content and then analyzing that content and finding what patterns I like to see and developing this, like, yeah, 10, 12 years. And I think I'm okay. You know what I mean? So yeah, I thought that was pretty rewarding to try to kind of help him set the right kind of expectations, hopefully refocus himself. And he admitted this was a first draft, which, if I'm gonna be honest, I'm never gonna, like, I don't think I'm gonna do that again, because it's just
Mm.
a first draft means they don't even know what the fuck you're trying to do. So why didn't you just
Mhm.
send me an outline or something, or you know what I mean? Because I'm reading 18 pages thinking like deep when like half of it's gonna change anyways.
Uh-huh.
So, but yeah, definitely was a really fun, really interesting. And I guess the highlight of that event was that at the end he was like, you know, I wasn't expecting for us to go so deep on this really. And my boy Andrew, who's the guy who connected us, he's he's been there with me before. You know, he knows he's the reason why I did it was because of him. He's a good friend and he deserves that. And I was like, I was like, nah, he wouldn't have asked me because he sent me a very personal email asking me to do this. He would not have asked me, you know, to not get that, right? Like, that's why he asked me.
He knew what he was getting
Yeah,
into.
there's no way. Everybody who
Yeah.
works with me knows what they're getting into when it's me. I just don't play around. If I take the
Yeah.
thing, if I do it, you're gonna get it. So,
Mhm.
and then I kind of smirked because I said, you know, I'm glad you say that, and I'm glad you feel that way. That we went that deep because we never spoke about a single line of dialogue, not a single scene heading or scene description, not like there was no actual specific detailed conversation. We talked character, we talked why, what's the point of it all? We
Yeah.
talked clarity of story. We talked broad, but I think that when you talk, that nobody talks about the big, important, broad things that deeply. That's what it is. They don't. They read it and they're like, "This isn't that funny. I would do this line that way." That shit don't matter, man.
Mm.
What matters is
Mm.
if you care about the character, if there's something that they're going for that you relate to, if the structure leads you to the logical, like you know, the conclusion that was inevitable, and I had a great time with it. So, and it definitely was informative of what we're capable of doing at that stage in a project, you know, and there's so much room for a person to work with. So I really hope for the best. They want to obviously hire us for the edit. And I said, get the money first, and then we'll talk. We'll see. Cause you know, I'm all about execution. You guys get the money, you prove to me, you change the script and make it really good. Yeah, maybe we'll, you know, we'll take it on. So, that's always fun. But yeah, I think I
Yeah.
kind of,
You know, Sophie asked me to review her script for her
ooh,
film. And I it was so frustrating because I read it and I was like, I have been in all these reviews and I'm used to just all the your ideas just flowing. And then when it's up to me, I'm like, I have no idea. I don't know how to review this thing.
you do know how to
Um,
do it.
I mean,
Answer the questions. That's it.
nah, yeah,
And then you meet with her, and if she's like, "Wow, that's what you got," then you know what she needs to work on, right? What she needs to work on is how to get it to whatever she's intending. So
uh-huh.
answer the questions. That's what you do. It's personally like my personal opinion. Did I like this piece or not? Is basically irrelevant.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, how do I know it was something I was supposed to like?
Yeah.
So
Most of these reviews that I've been in, they're not stuff that you
yeah,
that's
exactly.
not for you. Yeah.
Yeah, but we do our job
Yeah.
to a super high level because we're capable of, you know the drill. You got this. Now you're gonna have to tell us about it next week.
What do you mean?
I want to know how you reviewed it and what you said and
Oh, I
if it
already
worked.
did. I was like there
Oh,
in the room with her. I didn't
oh
say
no,
much.
why? Don't ever do that either. She wanted you to read it in front of
Oh,
her.
yeah.
Yeah, classic,
No.
classic boo
Oh,
boo. What do you mean?
why is that classic? Why is it a boo
Because
boo?
on both sides, because that means she's just reading it to get your have you say I like it or whatever. How the are you gonna you're gonna read her script in front of her, and if you don't like it, you're telling me you didn't keep a straight face and that you didn't feel weird reading a part that you're like, this is yeah,
Mm,
great job, yeah, like it's bullshit. Like it's a
got
terrible
it.
position to be put in. Now you guys are young and obviously like it's whatever, but like I couldn't imagine. I'd be like, no, if you want, unless you want, it, maybe you don't care about wanting the truth. If you're just like, I just want you to read it and smile because I worked really hard on it, fine. I'll do that, but I don't even have to read it then. I'll just flip through it and say really nice things about you and you get the same effect and great. That I understand people need that too and they can get that. But like if you actually want me to go and make sure that your is good and good, our good is like correct. And by correct, it's like based on what you're intending. There's no way I will have your emotions impacting my decision making on what feedback to give you, right?
Right. Yeah.
So yeah. On that note, Andrew did send me an article called "No, I Will Not Read Your Script," and I like an hour after the call. It's amazing, and I'm just gonna pin it in the YouTube just so people can read it because it's great. Well, is there anything else that's big to me? I feel like that really
That really did
covers it,
it.
right?
Yeah. That was the week. It was pretty, just work monotonous. Doing the thing. We did learn a new hack though. That was the highlight of the week.
Oh my God,
The
dude,
hack.
people, fam, this shit is real. This one, I know it. I can't, ready? I'm holding it. This is the suspense. You guys got to wait. I'm getting that retention. This shit is worth it, okay? Did you know that if you hit comma and or period on your keyboard that you can go frame by frame in YouTube?
I bet you didn't.
Let that shit sing in. I want that. You know what I want? I want the air horn. Bang! Dude, a VFX guy told me this week. I've been doing this for 10 years, had no fucking clue. You know how many times I'll get frustrated because I'm used to Frame.io flipping frame by frame, and then all of a sudden I'm watching something on YouTube and I'm going 30 seconds ahead or back? Oh my God, dude. And in particular, we were studying a transition from a spot that we were referencing and needed to know exactly where the cut was in this transition. And like him telling me that like changed my life. So, and not to mention everybody that I've told at the company also has changed their life. So you can thank me by subscribing and liking, of course, and checking us out week after week for more incredible life hacks like that. Question of the week.
Yeah.
Who went last time?
I went first last time.
Are you ready?
No, I'm not. You told me earlier today. I saw Dale come up with the question, and he was like, I'm gonna get you today.
I'm not
ready.
It's not even. It's nothing. It's a fun one. What is your least favorite emotion?
Oh, interesting.
And why? Obviously, like
guilt.
What the fuck? Are you? I knew it. You're giving me all this shit. Are you for real right now? There's no way. Did I incept you though? Did I incept that?
No, Dad. No, for real. Like since I was a kid, I would list my least favorite feelings. Oh, well, do you mean? Because okay, I thought I took it as
let me give context real quick.
Oh my God.
Earlier today when we were having lunch, I don't remember what we were talking about, but I said, you know,
we were
something,
talking
Grace,
about. We were talking about. Okay, I think this is stemming from like what I learned on Monday when I said that I didn't know how to chill out on a Friday when I had nothing to do.
Yeah.
And you're like, you should find, like things to do that are, productive to you if you're having trouble finding ways to chill. And then I said that tonight I'm going to a concert with a friend of a friend. I'm going to a concert with a friend to see a friend. And you kind of like were like, huh?
A boy.
Oh God. Okay. And you said that I was gonna. You thought that I was doing that out of guilt.
No, I did not. Like, why are you putting words in my mouth? No, I did not. I said all I posited.
Oh my God.
Was that you may be driven by guilt in your decision making. That was,
and you were
not even in a negative way. Just like, by the way, guys, Grace is extremely mysterious. If you haven't figured that out yet. Like, yeah, she like I'm always curious about what drives our decision making as people. Okay, now I figured my shit out, and Grace is, there's no pressure or nothing. She's figuring her stuff out, but I thought I had an interest. We like to talk about it. It's not like some therapy thing. It's like literally I'm bullshit.
Yeah.
Okay, just to be, I'm bullshit.
But I was
out of curiosity, and all of a sudden I was like, yo, what if it's guilt? That makes sense.
You were tying in the Monday morning thing and then also this thing and saying
well, and everything else, obviously we worked together for a year pretty closely, like, and so I was like, yeah, I think you have like FOMO kind of guilt kind of stuff. That's kind of what I mean.
No.
Well, anyways, guys, flash forward. Grace, what is your least favorite emotion and why?
Guilt. No, you didn't plant that in me. I used to always say my least favorite. Okay, maybe it's not guilt. If you're not talking about emotions, my least favorite feeling is nausea.
No. I meant not physical.
Okay, emotional. Yeah, I would always say nausea and guilt, and then.
Which, by the way, me too, bro. Stomach viruses stomach pain is the worst thing for me.
I cannot. That's what's driven I've never blacked out because
you don't drink that much, right? Is that what you're saying?
I can't drink. Yeah. Don't drink that much. The only times I've been super drunk is when people are giving me the drink and like literally handing it to me and like drink it, and I'm like, okay. But other than that, I'm scared of the nausea. But anyway, guilt. No, I don't. Well, a lot of my decision making is based on fear, from what I know.
Normal.
But.
That's a normal thing, yeah.
But guilt is like one that it's such a specific flavor in my mouth that I remember feeling so much of it as a child. And I was like, I'm never going to feel it again. I'm never going to put myself in a situation where I feel guilt ever again. And then I remember a time when I stopped and then I didn't feel that guilt anymore. Like, I don't.
Well, there's your crippling insecurity. But also, you gave me so much about it when I was spot the F on. I can't
My
believe
decisions
it.
aren't made out of guilt. I'm saying my
Ah,
decisions are made out of
whatever. The
fear.
point is, I said guilt. You're like, guilt? What are you, stupid? And I'm like, all right, Jesus Christ. But sure enough, okay, I'm just, it's all,
No, well, because I had interpreted, because you said it right after I said I'm going to a concert tonight, and I thought you said, you were like, guilt. I was like, you
yeah.
thought I'm going to the concert out of guilt, and like I wanted to go because I wanted to go.
Yeah, I know that's what you
But
think. No, I'm joking.
damn,
I'm
that's
joking.
messed
I'm joking. I'm joking. I don't care.
up.
Do you? But like, still, I don't like it. I mean, I felt so stupid. And meanwhile, over here, I was actually onto something. But I think that covers it. I feel satisfied. I feel really satisfied with that. Just knowing that, your boy here. I'm listening. You know what I'm saying? I see. I got eyes. I got ears.
Okay, you do, and it's a little scary sometimes for me because I'm not. I like to just slip and slide through, and
Hey,
I don't
dude.
need anyone interpreting.
Yeah, I'm not.
Um,
That's what I realized too. Is like I'm just doing it for fun. I'm not really trying to. There's no other agenda other than just pure curiosity, which can be dangerous. So I don't say much about it, anyways. Oh my god, that's so funny. Anyways, you're up.
okay, I thought I'd ask you a really basic question. See your INTJ response. If you were stranded on an island, what two items would you take? I made it two, not one. I want to see if you would make an integrated thing.
Yes, like way too much. How long am I on the island?
Oh, you see, I don't know. Forever, the rest of your life.
I mean,
Like,
oh okay, well, there's a lot of things you can get on islands. So food is fine. Shelter you could probably build. It'd have to be a tool, right? The most valuable tool. I don't actually. I'm so
oh,
bad at this. So the most valuable tool can't be power, can't need electricity, but it'd have to be able to create electricity or be
oh,
something that could help me create electricity. Because I think electricity is what's going to get the most advancement. But then if I'm alone for, I only got maybe 50, 60 years. So am I trying to create electricity on an island for if I can't even procreate? So I'd want something that would sustain me long enough. Oddly enough, one thing would be a tool.
okay.
That tool is sort of the TBD. It would be the tool that would allow me to do the most. Probably something like a sharp, like an axe, so I could do a lot of different things, wood cutting and stuff like that. Cutting, helping to create kindle, like maybe shavings, a whole bunch of shit. I don't even know. Some sort of a tool. And the other thing would probably need to be, I'm assuming, a book.
One book?
I only have two things. But I realized that if you're alone for 50 years, you need there's so much in the beginning, right? To do. I got to figure out how to eat every day. I got to catch this and that. So my tool would help me do that. But then once all that shit is done and I'm like hurricane proofed, it's like going to take 5-10 years, right? I
Yeah.
figured out how to like do all that. I'm comfortable eating insects and
Wow.
then I'm gonna want something to come back to, and I'm not gonna have music. I guess I could try to learn how to make an instrument, right? Because you can't be electrical, you can't have any electricity. So it probably would have to be a book, is my best guess. And honestly, how I'm big into but probably like a fiction book, because like I could also, if I wanted to be really clever about just surviving, the book would be about how to survive on an island, right? And then yeah, right. And so I'd have the guide, some sort of a mentorship, and then I'd have the most important tool to help me do that. But I'm assuming that we're assuming in this hypothetical world that like it's not really about survival, that I get through that part and can survive,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Then I think I also thought another thing could be something to write with paper,
Mm,
so it'd be the ink. Nah, but I think I could get that on the island probably. Figure out how
make
to
paper.
get ink and paper or some version of that for me to have an activity to draw, to paint, something to do
Yeah.
other than like work out and get super ripped. But I'm going to be it's in such a calorie deficit that it's not going to really, can't get that ripped. So yeah, probably some piece of entertainment.
That is exactly the answer I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear the whole process. So thank you for that. That's great.
It is.
Usually it's
I
like,
am who I am.
I feel like it's like I've heard so much of, like a picture of my family or something, or like my blanket or, something. But so that was cool.
It's cute. Blanket ain't gonna help you survive against a hurricane or whatever. That ain't gonna help you build a fire unless you burn it. But do you know how hard it is to actually make a fire out of nothing?
I don't.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's why I know it'd have to be some tool, and fire is one of the keys. Like you have to be able to make a fire. I know that's 100% one of the keys. So whatever it would be is like links to that just to survive. Bringing something that makes you sentimental and think of the past is probably a horrible idea, because if you're stuck on that island forever as you pose, that shit ain't ever coming back, and all it's going to do is not make you do shit. You're just going to cry and be depressed, and that's not a way to survive on an island, you know?
That's like the music video.
Oh, Shelter. Shout out.
Yeah.
Shelter. Yes, Porter Robinson.
Oh,
I showed her Shelter this week, guys. We cried like babies. It was amazing. Highly recommend if you haven't seen Shelter, the music video that Porter Robinson made with Madion. They co-created this song, and the music video is incredible. Okay, well that I believe covers it for another week.
Yeah.
Well, as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let us know what's up in the comments. What 2 things would you bring to a desert island? And we hope to hear from you soon and see you guys next time. As always, work hard, be nice, and keep changing. Thanks, y'all. Have a good one. Peace.